The research ship Horizon moved slowly through the dark space near the border of alien territory. Most of the crew was busy with data collection, but Aaron had been sent on a more simple task. He was a young technician with steady hands and quick thinking, though many saw him only as the quiet worker who fixed machines when they broke. On this day, his duty was to repair a communication relay that had stopped working near a small asteroid cluster. Aaron did not mind the work. The shuttle ride gave him some time away from the noise of the main ship. He liked the silence of space. It reminded him that even though humans had only just begun to spread beyond their home planet, they were now explorers of the stars. His mind often drifted with thoughts of what lay beyond the unknown. The repair was going smoothly. He floated carefully in his suit, tools in hand, adjusting loose panels and testing the signal strength. As the machine began to hum back to life, he allowed himself a small smile. Fixing things gave him comfort. But then the hum of his repair was replaced by another sound. A low rumble came through his comms, followed by a blinding light. His shuttle shook as if caught in a storm. Aaron looked up, and his heart raced. A massive vessel had appeared above the asteroid cluster, blocking the distant stars. Its hull was covered with glowing lines that looked like veins of fire across stone. This was no human ship. Before he could react, a tractor beam locked onto his shuttle. The force pulled him in like a fish caught in a net. He tried to break free, but the controls refused his commands. His comms to the horizon only gave static. Aaron's hands tightened on the seat as the alien ship grew larger and larger before his eyes. The shuttle was swallowed by an opening in the vessel's side. The moment it touched the floor, the power shut down completely. Aaron sat still, listening to his heartbeat. The ramp lowered with a hiss, and he saw figures waiting in the glowing hall beyond. Tall, armored guards with silver masks stood in 2 rows. Between them walked a figure unlike any Aaron had ever seen. She was tall, her steps graceful, and her long robe shimmered with soft shades of blue and white. Her face carried sharp, noble features, and her eyes shone like polished steel. A crown of metal leaves rested upon her dark hair. Even in the tense silence, she carried herself like someone born to rule. Aaron's mouth went dry. He had heard of alien royalty before, though humans had little real contact with such high figures. This must be one of them. The thought both terrified and amazed him. The princess stopped at the foot of the shuttle's ramp. She raised a staff with a crystal at its tip, and her voice rang through the chamber, translated by his suit. "Human," she said, calm but commanding. "You stand within the domain of the Ilari Empire. Speak and explain why you trespass near our border." Aaron swallowed. He had no script for this moment. His mission had been simple: fix a relay, return to Horizon, and file a report. Now he was staring at an alien princess with guards ready to strike if he made one wrong move. "I was repairing a relay," he said carefully. "I did not mean to enter your space. My ship is close by. I can leave as soon as you wish." Her eyes narrowed slightly, as if weighing his words. The hall was silent. Aaron's nerves began to climb higher. He was not a soldier or a diplomat. He was just a technician with a toolkit and a shuttle. How was he supposed to handle this? In a moment of panic, his instinct was to do what he often did when nervous: make a small joke. He had once used humor to calm himself in stressful situations. Without thinking, he let out a short laugh and said, "You would make a cute wife." The words left his mouth before his brain could stop them. He froze. His stomach dropped. What had he just said to an alien princess surrounded by guards? The hall turned quiet in a way that felt heavy. The guards stiffened, their masked faces unreadable. The princess herself did not move at first. Her steel-like eyes locked onto him, and Aaron wished he could pull the words back into his mouth. Then, after a long pause, she lowered her staff. Her lips parted, and she spoke clearly. "I accept." Aaron blinked, stunned. He thought for a moment that the translator had made a mistake. "What?" he whispered. The princess straightened her shoulders. "I accept your proposal," she said again. The guards around her instantly dropped to one knee, bowing their heads. Their voices rose together in a chant he could not understand. The sound echoed through the chamber, filling Aaron with a wave of dread. His hands trembled as he looked around. This had to be some kind of cultural misunderstanding. On his world, his words were only a careless joke. Here, among the Ilari, they carried a weight he could not yet grasp. The princess stepped forward, her eyes never leaving his. "From this moment, you are bound to me. By the laws of my people, your words are binding. You will stand as my chosen partner." Aaron's mind spun. His mouth opened, but no words came. He was a technician, not a prince. He had never been in love, never thought about marriage, and certainly never imagined it would happen like this. He wanted to explain, to tell her she had misunderstood, but the guard's stares kept him silent. He realized then that one careless joke had changed everything. What would the Horizon think when they discovered he was now tied to an alien princess? What would her empire do if he tried to back away? The weight of the unknown pressed down on him, and for the first time in his life, Aaron felt the full force of what it meant to be human standing alone among the stars. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet thought whispered that his life would never be the same again. Aaron stood frozen inside the great chamber of the alien ship. His mind could not process what had just happened. The princess, tall and proud in her shining robe, had accepted his careless joke as a marriage proposal. Her guards still knelt, their heads bowed, their voices steady in a chant that filled the hall. His first thought was to correct her, to explain that his words were not serious, that humans often used humor in strange moments. But his throat tightened. He could not find the courage to speak. Every eye in the room was on him, and he felt as though one wrong word could turn their respect into fury. The princess raised her hand, and the chanting stopped. She stepped closer to him, her robe flowing like water as she walked. Her eyes, sharp as polished steel, studied him. Aaron wanted to look away, but her gaze held him in place. "You spoke with no fear," she said. "In front of my guards, you offered yourself. I accept because I see strength in you. Few would dare such boldness." Aaron's mouth opened, but only a weak sound came out. He wanted to tell her he had not been bold but foolish, that it had been nothing more than nervous words. Yet something in her tone stopped him. She spoke with complete certainty, as though his intentions did not matter. Two guards stepped forward and gestured for him to follow. Aaron's legs felt heavy, but he obeyed. The princess turned, her staff tapping lightly on the floor as she led the way deeper into the ship. They walked through long, glowing corridors. The walls were carved with strange patterns that pulsed with soft light. Other aliens moved aside as the group passed. Their faces showed shock, confusion, and even fear when they looked at Aaron. He realized news of his so-called proposal was already spreading among the crew. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with soft light from crystals in the ceiling. At the center stood a tall throne carved from a dark, shining stone. The princess sat gracefully upon it, while the guards formed a circle around the room. Aaron was guided to stand before her. "I am Solara, heir to the Elari throne," she declared. "You will speak your name so that it is known to all." Aaron cleared his throat, still unsure of what else to do. "My name is Aaron. I am a technician on the human ship Horizon." The guards murmured softly at his words, perhaps surprised by the simplicity of his title. Solara raised her hand, silencing them. "Aaron of Horizon," she said, her voice steady, "you are bound by honor to me. From this moment, you are not only guest but chosen. Our law does not allow such vows to be broken. To deny them would bring dishonor not only to me, but to your people as well." Aaron's stomach sank. He understood now why her guards had knelt, why the chanting had begun. This was not a small mistake. In her culture, words had power, and once spoken, they could not be taken back. He thought of trying again to explain. He could say it was not serious, that humans did not mean such things in the same way. But then he imagined the result. If he made her lose face in front of her own guards, it could create anger, maybe even war. One joke had placed him in the middle of a situation bigger than himself. Solara leaned forward slightly. "Do you wish to deny me now, Aaron of Horizon?" The room grew silent. Every guard watched him, their hands resting on the hilts of their weapons. Aaron's chest tightened. He wanted to shout that he was not ready for this, that it was all a mistake, but the words stuck in his throat. At last, he gave a slow nod. "No, Princess Solara. I do not deny you." The tension in the room eased. The guards stood straighter, some nodding with approval. Solara's lips curved into the smallest smile, the first sign of softness he had seen on her face. "Then it is settled," she said. "You are accepted." The guards struck the floor with their staffs in unison, a sound that echoed like thunder. Aaron flinched, but Solara rose to her feet and walked down from the throne. She stood close to him, her presence both graceful and commanding. "You will be taken to the royal palace," she said. "There, the council will see you and know my choice." Aaron felt his knees weaken. Palace. Council. Choice. Each word made his situation more real. He was no longer just a technician on a simple repair job. Somehow, he had been pulled into the center of an alien empire. As the guards escorted him through the corridors once more, he noticed the way other aliens stared at him. Some looked curious, others suspicious, and a few even hostile. Whispers followed him like shadows. He had become something important in their eyes, though he did not understand why. When they reached a chamber prepared for guests, the guards stepped aside. One spoke in a deep voice. "You will rest here until the ship arrives at the home world. Food will be brought. You are under royal protection now." Aaron entered the chamber. It was larger than his cabin on Horizon, with walls that glowed softly and furniture carved from smooth stone. A bed rested against the wall, covered in silver fabric. He sat heavily upon it, his mind spinning. The door closed behind him, leaving him in silence. He buried his face in his hands. He had come to fix a broken machine. Now he was caught in an alien tradition he barely understood. One careless joke had turned into a promise that could shape the fate of two peoples. Lying back on the bed, he stared at the glowing ceiling. He wanted to believe this was all a dream, that he would wake up back in his shuttle, tools in hand. But the memory of Solara's sharp eyes and calm voice told him it was real. Somewhere beyond the stars, the horizon was still waiting for him. He wondered what his captain would say when they learned their technician had been claimed as the future husband of an alien princess. For now, he could only wait and hope that he would find a way to survive the path he had stepped onto. The Ilari ship glided through space like a silent predator. Its surface glowed with faint light, and its engines moved without sound. Aaron sat in his chamber, staring at the strange walls that pulsed gently like the veins of a living creature. Time passed slowly. He had no window to see the stars, only the steady glow of the crystals above. He thought again and again about what had happened. He had made a joke, and now he was considered the future husband of a princess. He wanted to laugh at the madness of it, but each time he remembered the guard's serious eyes, the weight of their tradition, and the calm certainty of Princess Solara. To them, this was no mistake. To them, his words had been sacred. A soft chime came from the door. It opened, and a figure stepped inside. Solara herself entered, her robe flowing like water. 2 guards stood outside but did not follow her in. Aaron quickly stood, unsure of what was proper. "Sit," Solara said in her calm voice. "You are under no chains here. You may rest as you wish." Aaron nodded and sat back down, though his hands twisted nervously in his lap. Solara walked across the chamber and studied him. Her gaze was sharp, yet not cruel. "You are quiet," she said. "Do you regret the words you spoke?" Aaron hesitated. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to explain it had only been a joke. But again, he feared how she would react. Instead, he chose safer words. "I did not expect them to mean so much here," he said slowly. "On my world, such words are not binding. They are spoken lightly, sometimes only in humor." Solara tilted her head, her crown catching the light. "Strange," she said. "Among the Ilari, words are as strong as steel. A promise is not dust in the air. It binds the heart and the honor of the one who speaks it. To give your words without meaning is seen as weakness. Yet you gave them boldly." Aaron lowered his eyes. "I was nervous. I was trying to calm myself." For a long moment, Solara was silent. Then she stepped closer. "Perhaps you did not intend it, but I believe there is truth hidden in your spirit. You are not like the warriors of my people, yet you have courage. I saw it when you faced me without fear." Aaron almost laughed. Fear had filled him from head to toe, but he bit back his reply. It was clear Solara had chosen to see his words as strength, and he could not change her mind. Before he could answer, the door opened again. An older alien entered, wearing long robes marked with silver lines. His face was stern, his eyes narrow. He bowed slightly to Solara, then glanced at Aaron. "Princess," the elder said, "the council must be informed before arrival. They will not be pleased." "I am aware," Solara replied. The elder frowned. "Forgive my boldness, but choosing a human? The council values tradition. They will see this as weakness. The people may question your judgment." Solara's voice turned firm. "The council advises, but I decide. Their doubt does not change my will." The elder's eyes shifted back to Aaron, full of suspicion. He studied him as though Aaron were a broken tool. "Does he even know our customs? Can he even stand in a hall of honor without shame? This choice may bring division, not strength." Aaron's cheeks burned. He wanted to defend himself, but he had no knowledge of their customs. He was a stranger in every way. Solara raised her hand, silencing the elder. "He will learn," she said. "He will face the council. Let them see with their own eyes." The elder bowed again, though his eyes still carried doubt. He left the chamber, the door sliding shut behind him. Aaron let out a breath he had been holding. "He does not like me," he said softly. Solara's gaze did not waver. "The council respects strength above all. They do not yet see yours. They believe humans are weak because your bodies are not as strong as ours, your weapons not as old as ours. But strength is not only muscle or blade. If you prove this, their voices will fall silent." Aaron shook his head. "I am not a warrior. I fix things. Machines, relays, tools. I cannot fight your battles." Solara's lips curved into the faintest smile. "A kingdom needs more than warriors. A clever mind can win wars that swords cannot. I believe you will show them." Aaron was not sure if she truly believed this or if she only spoke to comfort him. Either way, he felt the weight of her faith pressing on him. The next day, the ship reached the Ilari homeworld. Through the window of a transport craft, Aaron saw a planet covered in silver seas and green continents marked with shining cities. Towers rose high, their tops glowing with crystal light. Vast bridges stretched between cliffs, and ships moved like birds through the skies. It was beautiful, yet intimidating. They landed at a palace carved into the side of a mountain. Its walls gleamed like polished stone, and waterfalls poured down beside tall stairways. Guards in shining armor lined the entrance. Aaron followed Solara into the grand hall. The council awaited them. 10 elders sat in a half-circle, their robes long, their faces serious. Their eyes turned sharply toward Aaron as he entered. He felt their judgment like cold air against his skin. Solara stood tall at the center. "Honored council," she said, her voice echoing. "This is Aaron of Horizon. He has spoken words that bind him to me. By law, he is my chosen partner." The hall filled with whispers. Some elders shook their heads. One, with a scar across his cheek, spoke louder. "A human? This is folly. He has no honor among us. He has no strength. How can he stand beside our princess?" Another elder added, "If this is your choice, he must prove himself. If he fails, the people will not accept him." Aaron's stomach twisted. He had known this moment was coming, but hearing it aloud filled him with dread. Solara lifted her staff. "Then let him face a trial. Not of the body alone, but of the mind and spirit. If he passes, you will have no right to deny him." The elders murmured again. At last, the eldest among them, a woman with silver hair and steady eyes, nodded. "So it shall be. The human will be tested. If he survives, he may stand at your side. If he fails, you must release him." The hall grew silent. Aaron stood in the center, feeling the weight of every eye upon him. He had come as a technician to fix a broken machine, yet now he was trapped in a test that could decide not only his fate but perhaps the future of his people. He swallowed hard, his mind racing. He did not know their customs, their trials, or their ways. But he knew one thing. Whatever test awaited him, he would have to rely on the only strength he truly trusted, his human mind. The council chamber was silent after the eldest elder spoke. Aaron stood stiff, feeling every stare from the elders like arrows piercing his skin. The words of Solara echoed in his ears. He would face a trial, and if he failed, his bond with the princess would be broken. A part of him wanted to shout that this was not his choice, that he never asked for this, but another part reminded him that the situation had already gone too far. His careless joke had set this path, and now he had to walk it. Solara stepped closer to him, her presence calm and commanding. "Do not fear, she said softly, though her voice carried through the chamber. The test will not be of brute strength alone. It is designed to show the truth of a person's spirit. You will find a way. Aaron nodded weakly. His stomach twisted with nerves. He had never been tested before except in training as a technician, where mistakes meant broken machines, not life or death. Yet there was no escape now. The elders rose from their seats, and the scarred elder spoke. Tomorrow at first light, the human will enter the trial arena. There he will prove his worth, or he will leave this hall in shame. 2 guards escorted Aaron back to his chamber, where he paced the floor endlessly. He touched the smooth walls, wishing for a piece of old machinery to tinker with, something to calm his racing thoughts. But there was nothing. Only silence, broken by the sound of his own heartbeat. That night he barely slept. He lay awake on the silver bed, staring at the glowing ceiling. His mind kept imagining the trial. Would it be combat? A puzzle? Some cruel test made to humiliate him? He did not know. All he knew was that failing would not only end his strange bond with Solara but might also stain the reputation of humans in the eyes of the Ilari forever. At dawn, guards came for him. They led him through winding halls until he emerged into the open air. The trial arena was built into the mountainside, a great circle of stone surrounded by tall walls and glowing crystals. Thousands of Ilari filled the seats, their eyes locked on the center platform where Aaron now stood. Solara watched from a high balcony, her expression unreadable. The council sat beside her, their robes shining in the morning light. Aaron stood alone in the vast circle, his hands empty, his heart racing. A booming voice filled the arena, spoken by the elder with the scar. Human Aaron of Horizon, you stand before the people of the Ilari. You have spoken words that bind you to our princess, but you have not yet shown your worth. By law, you must face the trial of honor. Survive, and you may remain at her side. Fail, and you will be cast out. The crowd murmured in anticipation. Then the ground beneath Aaron shook. Panels opened, and strange machines rose from the stone floor. They were tall metal constructs shaped like warriors, their arms ending in glowing blades and heavy shields. Their eyes shone red, and their heads turned toward him like hunting animals. Aaron's blood ran cold. These were not living opponents but training machines, designed for combat. He had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his mind and his quick hands. The machines began to move forward, their steps heavy against the stone. Panic struck him for a moment, but then he forced himself to breathe. He was not a warrior, but he was a technician. Machines had weaknesses. Machines could be broken. As the first construct lunged, Aaron dove to the side. The glowing blade struck the ground where he had stood, leaving a deep mark. He scrambled toward the edge of the arena, where one of the panels had not closed fully. Through the small gap, he saw wires and glowing cores powering the machines. His heart leaped. This was something he understood. Dodging another strike, he pulled a small multi-tool from the pocket of his belt. It was the only thing he had carried, a habit of never leaving his ship without it. To others it was just a tool, but to him it was hope. He darted toward the gap and jammed the tool inside, cutting one of the wires. Sparks flew, and one of the constructs staggered, its movements slowing. The crowd gasped. Aaron smiled for the first time that morning. He had found a way. The other machines closed in, but now he knew their secret. They were strong and fast, but they were still machines. He dashed between them, dodging their glowing blades and searching for weak points. Each time he found a gap, he struck with his tool, cutting wires, twisting circuits, forcing systems to shut down. The battle turned into a dance of survival. Aaron's body ached, his breath came fast, but his mind stayed sharp. He used his knowledge of systems, his instinct for repairs, and turned them into weapons. One by one, the constructs fell, their red eyes dimming as their power failed. The crowd's murmurs grew into shouts. At first they had expected to see him crushed in moments. Now they saw something else. They saw a human who fought not with muscle but with cleverness. A human who turned weakness into strength. At last, the final machine fell with a loud crash, smoke rising from its broken circuits. Aaron stood in the center of the arena, chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. His hands shook, but he was still standing. The arena fell silent for a long breath. Then the sound of staffs striking stone filled the air. The crowd rose to their feet, shouting, cheering. Aaron blinked in disbelief. They were not mocking him. They were praising him. On the balcony, the council sat with unreadable faces, but even they could not deny what they had seen. Solara, however, smiled openly. Her eyes met his, and she gave the smallest nod, a silent message of pride. The elder with silver hair rose and spoke. The trial is complete. The human has faced the machines of war and stood victorious. He did not use strength of body, but strength of mind. This too is honor. The crowd roared again, their voices echoing through the mountains. Aaron sank to his knees, relief flooding through him. He had survived. He had proved himself, not as a warrior, but as what he truly was, a human who built, repaired, and adapted. Solara stood tall beside the council. Let all who doubt see now, she declared. Humans may not be as we are, but they have their own strength. Aaron has shown this today. Aaron raised his eyes to her. For the first time since this strange journey began, he felt a spark of pride. He had not failed. He had shown them who he truly was. And deep within, he knew this was only the beginning. The cheers of the crowd echoed long after the trial ended. Aaron had walked out of the arena alive, though his body ached and his clothes were covered in dust and smoke. The guards escorted him back through the palace halls, but their eyes now carried a hint of respect instead of suspicion. For the first time since his capture, Aaron felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had proved himself, even if only for a moment. He had not fought with strength but with cleverness, and the people had seen it. Princess Solara met him later in a quiet chamber lit by glowing crystals. She studied him carefully, her expression softer than before. You surprised them, she said. Even the council cannot deny what you did. You fought with your own kind of strength, and you won. Aaron let out a tired laugh. I almost died 10 times in there. I am no warrior. Yet you stand here alive, Solara replied calmly. Ilari warriors train for years to survive that trial. You had no training, but you adapted. That is rare. Her words warmed him, but the weight of her people's judgment still pressed on his shoulders. He could not forget the stern faces of the elders or the whispers of the crowd. Not all of them would accept him so easily. That night, Aaron was given a room in the palace overlooking the shining city. From his balcony, he saw towers glowing with crystal light, bridges stretching across wide rivers, and ships gliding silently through the air. It was beautiful, yet beneath the beauty he felt unease. The city was too quiet, the streets too orderly, as if the calm was only a thin surface hiding unrest below. The next day, while exploring the palace gardens, Aaron overheard voices from behind a wall of tall silver trees. He stopped and listened. "The princess grows reckless," one voice said sharply. "A human as her partner? The council may bow for now, but the people will not forget." Another voice answered, lower and filled with anger. "The rebels are ready. The empire has grown weak under her father, and now she insults us with this human. The time to strike is near. We will break the shields, open the skies, and let the old enemy finish what we begin." Aaron's heart raced. Rebels. Plans to break the shields. An old enemy. He stepped back quietly, careful not to make a sound. His mind replayed the words. If the rebels destroyed the shields, this world would be open to attack. He did not know who the old enemy was, but it sounded deadly. Later, he found Solara in a council chamber, speaking with the elders. When the meeting ended, he stepped forward quickly. "Princess," he whispered. "I heard something in the gardens. There are rebels among your people. They want to break the shields that protect this world." The elders scoffed at his words. The scarred elder crossed his arms. "More human lies. He seeks to spread fear to gain favor." But Solara's eyes narrowed. She studied Aaron's face, then spoke firmly. "He does not lie. I believe him." The elders muttered among themselves. Finally, the silver-haired elder raised her hand. "If this is true, we must find proof. Without it, the council cannot act." Aaron felt frustration burn inside him. He had heard the rebels with his own ears. Did they need proof while danger crept at their gates? But he held his tongue. He was still an outsider. That evening, Solara visited his chamber. She moved silently, her robe trailing like mist. "Tell me again what you heard," she said. Aaron repeated every word. Solara's face grew hard. "The rebels have been silent for years, but their anger has not died. They despise change. To them, choosing you is the greatest insult. If they break the shields, our world will fall to the Zerath, our oldest enemies. The shields are the only reason the Zerath have not destroyed us." "The Zerath?" Aaron asked. Solara nodded. "They are conquerors who strip worlds of life. Long ago, they fought us until only the shields saved us. If they return, many will die." Aaron's chest tightened. He had never heard of the Zerath, but from her tone, they were a terror beyond imagination. "We must stop the rebels," Solara said. "But the council will not act without proof. We will find it ourselves." Aaron hesitated. "We? Princess, I am no spy." "I am just you are the one they do not expect," she interrupted. "They see me as guarded, but you they may ignore. That is your strength." And so, for the first time, Aaron found himself walking the palace halls not as a guest, but as someone searching for secrets. He moved carefully, listening to whispers, watching shadows. With Solara's guidance, they pieced together clues, unusual movements of guards, supplies missing from storerooms, and strange patterns in the power grid. One night, they discovered a hidden passage beneath the palace. The walls glowed faintly, showing it had been built long ago. At the end of the tunnel, Aaron saw something that made his blood run cold. A group of rebels stood around a large machine, wires stretching into the walls. The machine pulsed with dark light, aimed directly at the city's shield generators. "They mean to destroy it from within," Aaron whispered. Before Solara could reply, one of the rebels turned and saw them. Shouts filled the chamber. The rebels drew weapons, their eyes burning with fury. Solara stepped forward, staff glowing in her hands, ready to fight. Aaron's mind raced. He was not a fighter, but he saw the machine's control panel. It was similar to systems he had worked on before. If he could shut it down, the rebels would lose their weapon. "Cover me," he said quickly. Solara gave a sharp nod. She blocked the rebels' attacks with her staff, her movements quick and graceful. Aaron dashed to the panel, his hands flying across the strange controls. Sparks burst, alarms wailed, but he kept working. He pulled wires, rewired circuits, forced overloads. The machine shook violently, and then with a loud crack, it powered down. The shield generators were safe. The rebels, seeing their plan ruined, fled into the shadows before guards arrived. Solara turned to Aaron, breathing hard. "You did it?" Aaron's chest heaved as he leaned against the panel. "I only did what I know. Machines are easier than people." But in Solara's eyes, he saw more than relief. He saw respect. For the second time, he had saved her world not with strength, but with skill. That night, news of the rebellion spread quietly. The council still doubted, but Solara now had proof. The rebels were real, and they had almost brought doom. Aaron sat on his balcony, staring at the glowing city. He knew the rebels were not finished. They would strike again, and the Zareth might not be far behind. He had stumbled into this world by accident, but now he could not turn away. His joke had bound him to Solara, but his choices were binding him to her people. And deep inside, he wondered if this was where he was meant to be all along. The palace never felt the same after the night in the hidden passage. Though the machine was destroyed, the shadow of rebellion still lingered. Solara ordered stronger patrols and tightened the guards, but she knew the rebels would not stop. Their pride was wounded, and wounded pride often turned to dangerous fire. Aaron could feel the tension in the air. Servants whispered in the halls. Courtiers spoke in hushed voices about betrayal. Even the elders walked with unease. The shining city beyond the palace walls looked peaceful, but Aaron sensed the storm building. One morning, before the first light reached the towers, the alarms began. A deep rumble shook the palace as the ground trembled. Aaron rushed to the balcony and froze. Ships dark as shadows pierced the skies, their forms sharp and unnatural. They were not the graceful ships of the Ilari. These were heavy, armed, and terrifying. Solara burst into his chamber, dressed in her battle armor. The crystal plates glowed faintly, casting her in silver blue light. Her eyes were calm but sharp. "The Zareth have come," she said. Aaron's stomach turned. He had only heard the name, but now he saw them, giant warships descending like vultures, their weapons already firing on the city's outer defenses. How did they get past the shields? Aaron asked in shock. "The rebels," Solara said bitterly. "They must have weakened the system long enough for the Zareth to slip through. This is their doing." The sound of explosions grew louder. Smoke rose in the distance, and the city's towers shook under the bombardment. Solara gripped her staff tightly. "Stay here. It is too dangerous." But Aaron shook his head. "No, I can help." "The palace defenses, are they still working?" Solara hesitated, then nodded. "They are weakened but not broken." "Why?" "Because machines I can handle," Aaron said firmly. "If I can get to the control hub, I can reroute the defenses. I can give us a chance." Solara looked at him for a long moment. Then she gave a sharp nod. "Very well. We go together." The palace corridors had turned into a battlefield. Guards clashed with rebels who had revealed themselves, their loyalty to Solaragon. The sound of blades and energy blasts filled the halls. Solara fought at the front, her staff glowing with brilliant strikes, while Aaron stayed close, guiding her toward the defense hub. They reached a massive chamber filled with glowing panels and crystal towers. But rebels were already there, trying to disable the systems. There. Aaron pointed. If they shut that down, the palace will fall. Solara leaped forward, striking down the nearest rebel with swift precision. Aaron sprinted to the console. His fingers flew across the alien controls, trying to read the unfamiliar symbols. The rebels noticed him and charged. Solara blocked their path, her movements fast and powerful. Still, there were too many. Aaron's heart raced as he worked. He redirected power from unused sections, forcing energy into the palace cannons. The floor shook as the defenses roared to life. Outside, automated turrets opened fire on the Zereth ships, striking them from the skies. But the rebels pressed harder. One slipped past Solara, rushing at Aaron with a blade. Aaron stumbled back, fear freezing him. At the last moment, Solara's staff blocked the strike, knocking the rebel away. "Focus," she shouted. Aaron swallowed his fear and returned to the panel. With one final command, he unleashed the palace's full defenses. Crystal beams shot into the sky, tearing into the Zereth fleet. Several enemy ships fell burning into the rivers below. The rebels, realizing their plan had failed, fled into the shadows. The chamber grew quiet except for the hum of machines. Aaron collapsed against the console, breathing hard. "I did it. They're firing. We have a chance." Solara stood beside him, her chest rising with heavy breaths. Her armor was scorched, but her eyes held pride. "You did more than that. You turned the tide." But the battle was far from over. The palace shook again as a massive shadow passed overhead. Aaron and Solara rushed to the balcony. Above them hovered the largest Zereth ship, its weapons glowing with destructive power. Solara's voice was steady. "That is their command vessel. If it falls, the others will scatter." Aaron stared at it. "How do we take it down?" Solara looked at him. "With courage and with wit. You proved both today." A plan formed in Aaron's mind. "The palace cannons can't pierce that armor. But if we overload the power crystals, we could create a focused beam strong enough to break through." Solara nodded slowly. "It would drain the palace for hours. Lights, shields, everything. But if it works, it will," Aaron said, though doubt gnawed at him. "I just need time." They rushed back inside. Aaron worked quickly, rerouting every drop of power into one cannon. The crystals glowed dangerously, the chamber trembling as energy built to unstable levels. Solara stood ready, guarding him from another wave of rebels who had returned, desperate to stop them. She fought with fire in her eyes, each strike of her staff ringing with strength. "Almost there!" Aaron shouted. His hands shook as sparks flew from the console. The overload reached its peak. "Now!" Solara cried. Aaron slammed the command. A beam of pure, blinding light erupted from the palace tower, striking the massive Zereth ship. For a moment, the sky itself seemed to split. The ship groaned, its armor cracking, then exploded in a storm of fire and metal. The remaining Zereth ships faltered. Without their leader, they turned and retreated into the darkness of space. The city was saved. Silence fell over the palace. The rebels who had fought so hard now lay defeated or captured. The people gathered in the streets below, their voices rising in cheers as they saw the sky clear of enemy ships. Aaron sank to the floor, exhausted. His arms ached, and his mind felt heavy, but relief washed through him. He had done it. Not alone, never alone, but with Solara at his side. Solara knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. You stood when others would have fled. You gave hope when all seemed lost. To me, that is true honor. Aaron managed a tired smile. I only did what I could. Machines and wires, that's my world. But you fought too, Solara said softly. Not with weapons, but with heart. And that is why we won. From the balcony, the city glowed once more. The towers still smoked, and the rivers still carried wreckage, but the people stood tall. They had faced the Zareth and survived. For Aaron, the joke that had bound him to Solara now felt like destiny. He was no longer just a visitor or a mistake. He was part of something greater, a battle, a people, and perhaps a future that was still being written. And though the war was not over, a new chapter had begun. The skies over the Ilari capital were quiet again. Where once the dark ships of the Zareth had hung like a curse, now only drifting smoke and falling embers remained. The people gathered in the streets, looking up at the palace towers, their voices lifting in relief and pride. They had survived. Inside the palace, Aaron stood by the shattered balcony rail, his hands still trembling from the battle. His clothes were torn, his face marked with dirt, but his eyes held something stronger than exhaustion. He looked out across the glowing city, and for the first time, he felt as though he truly belonged there. Solara joined him. She had removed her battle armor, though the faint glow of her staff still lingered at her side. Her hair fell loose across her shoulders, and though her face showed the weight of the night, her gaze was steady. You look like someone who has carried a world on his shoulders, she said softly. Aaron gave a tired laugh. I feel like it too. You saved more than the palace, she said. You saved all of us. Without you, the shields would have fallen, and the Zareth would have turned our city to ashes. Aaron shook his head. You give me too much credit. I just pressed the right buttons at the right time. Solara stepped closer, her voice firm but warm. No, Aaron. You acted when others hesitated. You risked yourself not for glory, but because you cared. That is what my people saw tonight. That is what I saw. Her words struck deeper than the cheers outside. Aaron had never thought of himself as brave. He was a technician, someone who fixed broken things. But maybe, he thought, that was exactly what he had done, fixed what was broken, not with strength, but with determination. The next day, the council gathered in the great hall. The elders stood in their long robes, their eyes sharp as they looked at Aaron. The people of the city filled the balconies above, waiting to hear what would be decided. The scarred elder spoke first. A human stands here, one who came to us by accident. He is untrained, untested, and yet he has fought beside our princess and lived. The silver-haired elder lifted her voice. He uncovered the rebellion, stopped the machine that threatened our shields, and turned our own defenses against the Zareth. These deeds cannot be ignored. A murmur ran through the hall. The elders were not known for quick praise. Then Solara rose. Her presence silenced the chamber. She lifted her staff, its glow lighting the walls. I chose him when he spoke words that bound us. Some believed it was chance, a mistake. But I say it was fate. His courage has proven that he is not only my partner, but a strength for all of us. I stand by him. Not because tradition demands it, but because I will it. The council exchanged glances. Some frowned, but none spoke against her. Finally, the eldest among them rose, her voice carrying across the chamber. Then it is decided. The bond stands. The human is no longer an outsider. He is chosen by our princess, and by his deeds, he has earned his place among us. The people erupted in cheers. The sound shook the hall, rising like a wave of triumph. Aaron stood frozen, unsure how to feel. A week ago, he had been a simple technician repairing comm relays. Now he was being hailed as the partner of a princess, a symbol of unity between two worlds. He glanced at Solara, and she smiled calm, steady, certain. Somehow, that smile made the storm inside him quiet. In the days that followed, the city began to heal. The rebels who survived were captured or fled into the shadows. The shields were repaired under Aaron's guidance, stronger than before. The people rebuilt their damaged towers, planting new lights to chase away the scars of war. Aaron walked through the city often, not as a prisoner but as a welcomed guest. Children waved at him, calling him the clever human. Merchants offered him food and gifts. Guards saluted him when he passed. Though the weight of his new role felt heavy, their trust gave him strength. One evening, Solara brought him to the highest tower. From there, the whole capital spread out below, glowing like a sea of stars. The rivers shimmered, the bridges gleamed, and the towers stood tall against the horizon. "It is beautiful," Aaron whispered. "It is ours," Solara said. She turned to him, her expression softening. "When you first spoke those words, I accepted them. Not because I misunderstood, but because I saw truth in them. You were not like others who sought power or glory. You spoke with a heart unguarded. That is why I said yes." Aaron felt his face warm. "But I was joking. I never meant to." Solara raised a hand gently, stopping him. "And yet, your path brought you here. You stood beside me when all others doubted. You fought not because you had to, but because you chose to. That is more than any vow." For a long moment, Aaron was silent. Then he smiled, small but certain. "Then I accept too. Not because of fate, but because I want to. Whatever comes next, we face it together." Solara's eyes shone, and for the first time since he had met her, she let her hand rest in his. The city bells rang that night, not for war, but for unity. Two worlds had been bound by accident, but strengthened by choice. The story of a human who joked and a princess who accepted became more than a tale, it became a beginning. And as the stars spread across the dark sky, Aaron knew his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a man fixing broken machines. He was part of something greater. A protector, a partner, and perhaps, a husband to a princess who believed in him. The future stretched wide, filled with challenges and hope. But for the first time, Aaron did not fear it. He was ready.